Hey guys, sorry. I forgot to plug this in first. I am hopping on a few minutes early just to make sure that my internet is going to work, and hopefully it'll last long enough for me to at least get tell you what I want to say for you guys today. When you hop on, say hi. Let me know if you catch the replay. My hair. I'm having a day. All right, so listen. So today is my oldest son's birthday, and I, of course, am thrilled for him. I have said this before, that I no longer say, I wish time would slow down, I wish he was a baby still, all of that. I don't say those things anymore because, as some of you I'm sure are very familiar, I'm going to have to take this out. It's hurting. I am thankful for him to have a birthday, right? I'm thankful for every birthday now that my children have. I am eager for them to get married and give me grandchildren. Like, I no longer dread that. I no longer feel like, oh, that makes me feel like I'm getting old or whatever. So today, like, trying to celebrate that, but obviously it comes with the sadness of, obviously, my daughter is not going to have any more earthly birthdays. And so there's the sadness there. And also because, like, she would be super excited today. I'm probably going to cry a lot today. She would be super excited today because she loves birthdays. She gets very excited for anyone that has a birthday. And the way that the birthdays fall in order in our family, Ethan's birthday is the signal for her that she can finally start celebrating her birthday, because her birthday is in just under 2 months from now. And so basically it would be free for all for her to be like, okay, we're going to celebrate today, birthday cake, yay Ethan, and then spending the next 2 months talking about what she wants to do for her birthday. So that makes today bittersweet, right? And also, like, Ethan's struggling with, today's not going the way he wanted it to. So he is kind of sad, and I can't do anything about it, and so that's making me sad. So I'm a little out of sorts, is what I'm trying to say. So hopefully y'all can bear with me, and I'll make some sense with the message that I want to bring you today. But just know that that today's a bit of a struggle for me, but I wasn't going to cancel on y'all, because if I canceled every day that we have a crappy day, I would never do anything, because let's face it, like, every day has some crappiness to it, right? We should put that on a t-shirt. No, let's not do that. We're trying to be positive here. Okay, so I see some eyeballs. I see some people popping on. Say hi as you're popping on. And I'm going to go ahead and try and get started. And let me know, can you hear me? Sorry, I just totally made the thing rock. I don't want to make you seasick. Let me know if you can hear me. And put that down a little more gently. And I'm going to go ahead and get started. I know I started a couple minutes earlier than I said I would, but I can't just sit around and twiddle my thumbs for 5 minutes. Can't do it. So I'd rather get on here and talk to you about the fact that my son's birthday is today, and it's Friday the 13th, and which we don't care about that kind of stuff. It's kind of funny. Anyway, all that to say, here I am. All right, so we're discussing forgiveness today. This is something that I have run across so much, especially in my journey, and it is in every one of our experiences, regardless of the person who died, whether it was your child or your sibling or your parent or your spouse. Regardless of who it was that died and how they died, we all have some feelings of guilt, right? It's part of the process. So I'm going to try to make sense. My notes are a little bit scattered. I mean, if you've watched me before, you know I kind of tend to be a little bit scattered. But in the end, I think I bring out some good points. So hopefully you guys can bear with me. All right. So the first thing I want to say, because I'm going to come back to this again and again, years ago, so there is an author who I adore. His name is Andy Andrews. He's actually from a small town on the beach, about an hour and a half from where I live. And I've actually gotten to hear him speak in person a few times. And he's a comedian, but he's also very wise. He lost his parents at a very young age, and he's been through some stuff, right? Well, his books are incredible. And I will never forget something that I've heard him say multiple times, and I'm sure I read it in at least one of his books. But this is what he says about forgiveness. He says, forgiveness is not about, well, I'm going to butcher it. He says, forgiveness is not about the other person. It's about you. Because when you don't forgive someone else for something they did to you, you're the one that suffers. Forgiving them is releasing you from the burden of, the anger and the disappointment and all of that you're experiencing because of whatever the other person did to you. So, yeah, like I said, I totally butchered it. It's like that other thing that people say. Whoa, one of the light bulbs just came on. The thing that people say, something about being angry at someone else is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die, right? So when we harbor that, when we carry that in our heart, and we let it just sit there and fester, what we're doing is hurting ourselves, right? The other person is not suffering. They're probably not losing sleep at night. They probably don't even know why you're upset or that you're upset, right? So I want you to keep that in mind. Hey, Amanda, thanks for joining. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the rest of this. The rest of the points today is, like I said, like what Andy Andrews said, is that forgiveness is about you. It's about your heart, and it's about healing yourself. It's not about the other person. And I'm going to get into this, so just hold on, because I'm not saying that you let them get away with it, or that you let them continue to hurt you, or et cetera, et cetera. What I'm saying is, what we're talking about now is how forgiveness works in helping you heal. Okay? So, bear with me. Say hi. Thank you for saying hi, Amanda. Everybody else, when you jump on, say hi. Let me know you're here. And let me know if you're digging this, if you're digging what I'm sharing. Okay. So, anger is a normal, foundational emotion when it comes to grief. Hey, Allie. Yeah, honey, I'm preaching today. I pretty much always preach, but I'm always preaching to myself too. So this is me preaching to me, and then everybody else gets to benefit from my crazy. Sorry, I had to take my hair down. It's still I don't know, maybe it's stuck in my earbud. It hurts. Okay, anger is a normal, foundational emotion of grief. All of our emotions are here to teach us something. And I've said that before. I say that all the time. When we sit with our emotions and we sit with our thoughts and our beliefs and we really dig into what it is it's trying to teach us, that's when we learn, that's when we heal, that's when we grow. And anger is just one of them. It's a huge one, but it's here to teach us something. So when we're angry about something, when we are needing to forgive someone of something, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to reflect, for us to learn something, right? Okay. And also, I will also mention this, that because, we read in the Bible, anger itself is not a sin, because it actually says, be angry and sin not. So God recognizes that anger is an emotion. It's not a bad thing. It's a valid feeling and emotion, but we have to control our behavior, right? We can't control other people's behavior. We can only control ourselves. We can be angry at someone, but then we have to make sure that we don't cross the line and, when I talk about boundaries, that we don't push someone else's boundaries or, cause more conflict, that we are doing what is best for us to heal, right? And thinking of that first, starting there. So again, anger is not a bad thing. It's here to teach us. However, in our society, what do we do? When we think about guilt, guilt is one of the things that we avoid like the plague. We internalize it, and so again, I'm going to give some examples, and it's going to be some hard stuff. But when we internalize our anger and when we internalize our guilt, it festers inside of us. It eats us up, and it leads to. It's one of the ways that leads to what's known as complicated grief, because you're not actually dealing with your feelings, and so you're just stuffing it down until you're going to become a volcano that winds up exploding in one way or another. Whether it's the fact that it just, you get sick, you have a heart attack, or you throat punch somebody, and go to jail. But so avoiding it is obviously, I'm not gonna, say that we should do that. We to heal, we must address it, right? Okay. So first, if we're talking about being angry at the person who died, this is really hard because we feel really guilty about the fact that we feel this anger towards the person that died, right? Because it's like we're not supposed to speak ill of them, and when someone dies, all we remember is all of the good things, like all of the things that all the conflicts and things like that just melt away, and it's like, I wish we had made peace. So when there's unresolved conflict with that person, there's the guilt because you now in this lifetime don't have the opportunity to say, I'm sorry for what I said, or I needed you to know that you hurt my feelings. Oh, Allie, you're really sweet. So good. Yeah, I'm good at something. Okay. But so not having that opportunity to resolve conflict is one way that we feel guilty as far as having anger towards the person that died, because we can't, the book closed and we weren't able to finish the chapter. Or when it comes to that person's choices that led to their death, whatever those choices were, whether it was they didn't take care of themselves so they were unhealthy, whether it was that they did drugs, whether it was that they chose to text and drive, whether it was that they took their own life, if there's something that they did that had a hand in why they died, it's very difficult for us to forgive them, right? Because you're the one that's left here without them, right? And there's that disconnect. So these are ways that we struggle with anger and guilt towards the person that died. And just hang on to that. I'm gonna just keep going for now. So anger at other people who might have some sort of responsibility to what happened that caused the person's death. So I think I might be getting ahead of myself, but I'm not. I'm going to go ahead and share this example. Because I'm not really sure. Like I said, my notes are a little bit scattered. I was very angry and putting a lot of my rage onto the EMS responders because how long it took them to get here, because of what they did and didn't do when they got here, because they lied about how quickly they got here, just because it felt like in general it just did not feel like they were doing enough. Right? And so I had a lot of anger, a lot of rage, like I was going to write a letter and everything. And I was putting responsibility on them. And in all honesty, she was dead before they got here. She was dead when my husband found her. There was no bringing her back at that point. So having to process that anger and those feelings and come to terms with it, rather than clinging to that anger instead of dealing with it and opening up to healing, right? I could cling to that and I could continue to blame them. I could continue to blame the doctor, once she got to the hospital, and just pretend or assume that they didn't do enough, right? That's just my own personal example. But having other people that you feel like contributed to your loved one's death, the feelings that you have of anger towards them, and whether or not you need to forgive them. Also, lack of support. Friends and family, especially the ones who said they were going to be there for you, and now they've just disappeared. And you feel all alone, and you don't feel like you have the right to grieve publicly because they've made you feel like you can't say anything anymore. They've made you feel like you've been grieving too long. Whatever the case may be, like that's a whole nother 10-hour video I could do talking about the ways that we feel let down by those around us. Again, I'm just going to keep using my own personal examples because it's mine to share, right? I don't want to bring other people's stories without their permission or whether they're not comfortable. So I'm sharing my stories, what I'm comfortable with sharing. So I mean, I will throw my sister under the bus. I do it all the time. She's not here to defend herself, and we all know how that is with siblings. It's an opportunity to be, I don't know, pick on your kid's sister. Promised to be there for me, and then disappeared, right? And only reached out to me with these expectations of me being Pollyanna, and when I refused to be Pollyanna, basically shut me down. So what I've had to do is I have had to release that. I've had to forgive her, recognizing that she can't handle it. It's too painful. And I wouldn't want to be handling it, you know what I mean? If it was the other way around, I don't know how I would behave, but I know that it's not easy, you know, for sure. So having to be able to sit with it and dig through like why I'm feeling this way and why I'm so angry at her, and instead of constantly projecting my anger onto these other people, sitting with it, dealing with it, figuring it out, and releasing that anger. Again, I'm going to continue with this, but you can forgive people without allowing them to continue to harm you. Okay, so it's not a matter of allowing them to keep doing something or putting yourself in situations where you're going to continue to feel that pain, but that you're allowing yourself to heal. Again, it's all about what you're doing for yourself. Okay, and so then the last one is yourself, and obviously massive guilt. We all think of things that we could have done, should have done, now that we know what we know. So I'm going to tell you a couple of things that my mentor, Tom Zuba, shared with me personally. One of them was releasing the guilt because you did the best you could with the information that you had at the time, right? So whether your child was sick or your husband was sick or your sister or your dad or whoever, whatever the situation was, you did the best you could with the information that you had at that moment, right? It's burdening ourselves with a responsibility that's not ours to carry when we hold on to that guilt like that, right? So, and again, I'm going to talk more about this because it's a process. This is not me just saying magically forgive yourself. So that's one thing that he said to me, and I'm going to get into another thing that he said to me in the list of things that you can do to help yourself release yourself from that guilt. So, I'm gonna keep going here. Okay, so people in general they think that forgiveness is something that's unattainable. Forgiveness makes us weak, and it sets us up to be hurt again. Like it's sort of that. I mean, we're all so. I don't know why we're all so macho. You know, like we stuff our feelings down, we always act like we're fine, and like basically being nice, being kind, being considerate, and forgiving people is considered like, you know, being a wuss. But that's obviously not the way it's supposed to be, right? That's not what Christ taught us. He taught us to love each other the way that we want to be loved, to treat each other the way that we want to be treated. So if I want people to forgive me, I have to forgive them. Right? But society as a whole talks about forgiveness, or treats forgiveness as though it's this unattainable thing. Like you can't have forgiveness while also protecting yourself. Like they can't go hand in hand, and they do. They absolutely can. So I'm going to read this thing. So there was a human development study at the University of Wisconsin, and this is how they defined forgiveness. So I'm going to read my chicken scratch here. So this study from the University of Wisconsin says they called forgiveness a willingness to abandon one's right to resentment, negative judgment, indifferent behavior to one who unjustly injured us, while fostering the undeserved qualities of compassion and even love towards him or her. Hi, Vonda. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to read this one more time before we move on. So this human development study at the University of Wisconsin defines forgiveness as a willingness to abandon one's right to resentment, negative judgment, indifferent behavior to one who unjustly injured us, while fostering the undeserved qualities of compassion and even love toward him or her. It's our willingness to give up those feelings, right? Towards someone who doesn't deserve it necessarily. They don't, because somebody doesn't have to ask you for forgiveness for you to forgive them. Because again, forgiving them is that's your part. Whether they ask for it or not, that's your part. They don't have to know that you forgave them. I think I've mentioned this before in a previous video. They don't have to know that you've forgiven them. You don't have to tell them that you're forgiving them. You don't have to open up that door to a conversation that's going to be painful. But you can still forgive. Okay, so I'm going to keep going. Okay, so someone that doesn't necessarily deserve the compassion and the love that we are going to choose to show them. Again, they don't actually have to know that you're showing them this love and compassion, because you're doing it in your heart. You're doing it on your own. You know, your own work is involved in giving them that forgiveness, whether they know about it or not, whether they deserve it or not, but it's because you're seeking peace, right? Okay, so let me grab a swig here. Forgiveness is not eliminating the wrong or excusing the behavior. So even in regards to something that our loved one did that led to their death or contributed to their death, we're not excusing that behavior. And this is a marrying of things that don't seem like they should fit. But they do fit, and that's the only way that you're going to heal, is to allow them to find the way that they fit. It's not eliminating the wrong or excusing the behavior. If I could just read my chicken scratch, I would totally know what I tried to say right here. So it's actually something similar to what Nicole commented earlier in the post today about releasing them, but not opening yourselves up to being hurt again. So let's see, what did I write? So, okay, yeah, there we go. Time can also reveal behaviors that we don't actually even need to forgive. So, like I was saying about the first responders, rather than me having to confront them and tell them what they did wrong and that I feel like they need to ask for my forgiveness, it's actually circumstantial. It's actually something that in hindsight I look back and I realize it had nothing to do with her death. It was just part of the situation. Really? Now my phone is going to ring? Ignore. Sorry about that, guys. I did not put my phone on airplane mode. And I'm not really sure. I feel like I'm kind of getting jumpy. So hopefully my internet is not going to conk out on me. I'm going to try to talk faster. So now I see that that's something that didn't actually contribute to her death, and it's not something that I actually need to ask, or I need to give forgiveness for, because in hindsight now I see it wasn't something that was a forgivable offense, if that makes sense. Okay, so one model, the same person that was doing the study at the University of Wisconsin, his name is Enright. He has a model for forgiveness. There's 20 steps, there's 4 phases. It's deep, and I'm not going to go into it. I'm just going to touch on some highlights instead of keeping y'all here for 47 hours. But his model is credited with decreasing anxiety and depression and increasing self-esteem and hope. So again, when you forgive others, you're healing yourself. And like I said, you don't have to even tell them that you're forgiving them, right? And also forgiving yourself is included in this. Forgiving others, forgiving our person, our beloved who died, and forgiving others all around us for all of the crap that they do all the time, that they'll continue to do or not do, whatever it is, that we find hurtful. Okay, so here's some tips to especially working through forgiving yourself. First and foremost, it's the most important part. So embracing the guilt. That sounds insane, but y'all know, if you've heard me speak once, you've heard me say this 100 times. We've got to sit with our emotions. We've got to embrace them. We've got to open them up and dig in and figure out what it is they're trying to teach us. It's the only way to actually heal. You can choose not to and put it in a box and put it away, but you do it knowing that you are choosing not to heal, right? Figure out what it is you need to forgive yourself for. What is it that you actually need forgiveness for? Are you holding on to guilt for something that, like all of these abstract things that you've not actually sat down and written down and figured out, like what exactly it is that you're mad at yourself about? So figuring it out. Is it guilt or is it shame? Especially as a parent, all parents, no matter how your child dies, are going to feel guilt and are going to feel shame. And I know that I was publicly shamed because, of course, the news picks up the story, and there's all the trolls on the media out there that'll just get on the internet and just be like, this would never happen to my kid. Why wasn't she watching her kid? I mean, just people will bash the snot out of you, and that just only adds to your guilt because you're like, of course I feel like this is my fault, right? So again, digging in and figuring out, is it guilt or is it shame? What is it that you're feeling? What is it that you're dealing with? Helping with that is also figuring out your motives. And I said this already, but whatever the deal was, so say that you were taking care of your sick parent, say that you gave your kid the keys to the car and he was going to work, whatever the case may be, you didn't knowingly do something to harm the person that you love, right? Your motives and your intentions were good. I didn't knowingly, I literally gave my child the thing with which she accidentally killed herself by. I mean, the fact that I can say that out loud, I've come pretty far to be able to say that out loud and say it in a way where I can release the guilt because I did not give it to her knowing what was going to happen and allowing it to happen, right? This is so powerful, and this is what I want to give to you. This is what I want to give to every grieving woman out there, is the ability to work through this crap. So sit with it. This is a journaling tool you could use. Again, with just like I said, with writing out your emotions and journaling, just writing through it, why you're feeling what you're feeling, and just everything, just word vomit all over the paper. But if you are trying to figure out, is it guilt or regret, so write down all of your lists of regrets. And I was reading like the difference between guilt and regret. Guilt is like if you're doing something and you know it's wrong for you, but you're still doing it anyway. Regret is more hindsight, because you look back and you think, oh, if I had known this, I wouldn't have done that. Thank you, Allie. I appreciate that. Regret is looking back and saying, oh, well, had I known this, this is what I would have done instead. So take 2 pieces of paper, and on 1 piece of paper, write out all of your regrets. You can write out all of your lifetime regrets, but just in this instant, just write down all of your regrets surrounding the death of your loved one. Then on the other piece of paper, while you're looking at the list of regrets, write out what you have learned and how you have grown. I feel like you'll surprise yourself. I'll feel like you've come further than you realize you've come. And you'll write something that surprises you if you actually sit down and do this exercise. Because that is how I have come to where the realization that I didn't kill my child. It's powerful. It's so powerful. This is a good one. I hope I'm not going too fast, y'all. Let me know if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Are you holding yourself to a different standard that you would not have held someone else to? If you would not say the things that you're saying to yourself, the beating yourself up, if you would not say those things to your husband, to your sister, to your children, to your parents, to your best friend, why are you saying it to yourself? Why are you expecting it of yourself? Why are you expecting yourself to have known better, to have done better, to do better now? Why are you holding yourself to this standard that you don't hold other people to? And we are terrible about that as women in general. But again, question it, dig in, figure it out. Okay? Okay, and this one has been so huge for me. So talk to your loved one. You can write them a letter. So when we went back to like unresolved conflict that we might have had with our beloved who died, write the letter. Write a letter explaining all of the things that were, in the conflict, and ask them for forgiveness if that's what you need, and tell them you forgive them if that's what you need to do. But just all of it. Again, now writing a letter is one way, especially if you like to write. And then this is another way that, like I said, my friend Tom helped me that was so powerful because I was having so much guilt. And he said, imagine your loved one sitting in the chair across from you. Oh, sorry, I'm making the thing bounce. Imagine your loved one sitting in the chair across from you and ask them, do you blame me for your death? And I was able to see my daughter telling me, absolutely not. Of course she didn't blame me. That's powerful, to be able to come that far, to see that, to accept that, to be willing to see that. That I feel like so many of us, we just cling to our guilt and our pain, and we don't want to let it go because we're afraid of what's on the other side. We're afraid that healing might not look the way that we think that it's supposed to look. But what I'm saying is you can continue to have guilt but also have healing because you figured it out. You figured out where it's coming from and you know how to put it in its place. So being able to have that, being able to visualize your loved one and ask them, do you blame me? Do you forgive me? You know what they would say. You can hear them saying it. You can see them looking at you, and you can hear the words coming out of their mouth that they do not hold you responsible. If I can't give you any other thing today, that is the one thing that I want you to take away. That is the one thing I challenge you to do because it's so powerful. Okay. So I'm skipping a couple because they kind of sound, I've already covered them. Actively deciding to forgive yourself. Oh, thank you, Vonda. Actively deciding to forgive yourself. I've talked about this before. Grief is not passive. Grief is an active thing that we do. We don't just sit in our emotions, like feeling your emotions and going through them. It's an active process. You participate in it. And so actively deciding to forgive yourself, and it's not easy, it's not simple, it's not fast. It is a constant, continual journey for as long as you live, that you will be having to remind yourself and having to work through it, but you'll get better at it, and it will become easier, and you'll recognize the triggers faster as you're working through them. And then also you can do self-forgiveness, affirmations, and meditations. And I've been planning to try to record some meditations for y'all. I just haven't dug into the technical business of it yet. But there are some powerful ways that whenever you're meditating, that the words that you say while you're meditating help you embrace forgiveness, and having affirmations of forgiveness that you can repeat to yourself whenever you start to feel it build up, when you start to feel the guilt build up, that you can use those words, because words have power to help you deal with it whenever it's trying to knock you down, right? Or whenever a situation triggers you or something like that. So, Allie, I'm a superhero. Yeah, I'm like, whenever I'm one of the like goofy superheroes, I'm sure. Like, there's got to be some goofy superhero that is like me, that like walks into walls and always says something silly. But thank you. I'm sure I have a really cute superhero outfit. Okay, so guys, this is the kind of stuff that I do for my clients. This is the kind of stuff that we dig in and get our hands dirty and work through. And this is what I offer to you. I love y'all. I love that y'all are here in this group with me and that you're supporting each other, and that I'm able to educate you and help you see that you're not alone and you're not crazy, and validate you. But it's I can only do so much when I don't actually get to have these conversations with you, right? So I have spots available in my private one-on-one coaching. I have a few spots available. So if you're interested in that, definitely send me a message or comment, and we can set up a time to talk and see if that would work for you, because my private coaching is so powerful, because we're able to just really, really dig in to your specific situation. But I also have spots. I shared the link in the description of this video of the new group coaching program that I'm starting. It starts on Monday, and I still have spots available in that. It is going to be transformational. It is going to be powerful. It's going to be amazing. And if you have been thinking you want to work with me, but you just have not been able to invest in that right now, this is a perfect opportunity for you to get a taste of what it's like to work with me, and for you to have some transformation to make those first steps. If you're interested in that, click the link. All the details are on that page that'll tell you like how we're going to meet and what to expect. So I want to invite you to just look into it, and whatever it is that you're feeling right now, like whatever your heart is telling you right now, listen to it. If that's what your heart is telling you to do, and you're ready to change and you're ready for healing, don't hesitate. I can think of all the times in my life that I hesitated and how it stunted my growth. But I knew that I knew that I knew. Every time that I've had an opportunity to work with someone that I felt like was just transformational for me, and I jumped on it, I did not regret it. And so if you are interested in the least, you won't regret it. You will not regret our time together. So that's all I have for y'all today. I'm spent. That was a lot. Like I need to take a nap now because that was pretty deep. I don't know. I knew today was going to be kind of a tough topic, but I'm kind of spent. So Vonda, I would love that. Yes, Vonda, I would love to talk to you about working together. That would be awesome. So check it out. Let me know. Leave me a comment. Send me a message. All of the above. And otherwise, I hope y'all have a wonderful weekend. I'm super duper excited to get started with my group this coming Monday. And like I said, there's still spots available if that's something that you're interested in. Otherwise, definitely we can chat about. Like I said, I still have a few spots for private coaching available as well. But I love y'all. I love y'all so much. Y'all are like the reason that I get up every day and continue to do this work, because it's hard work, and it helps me heal when I know that I'm helping you heal. We help each other, and that's what it's all about. So I love y'all. Happy Friday. Hope you have a lovely weekend, and we'll chat soon. Bye.